Selin buckled her seatbelt, her fingers brushing over the strap as the airplane took off, the engines humming steadily beneath her. She'd always loved the feeling of flying, being so high up in the air, removed from the hustle of daily life. At 47, Selin had traveled to many places in the world, but there was something about this trip to America that felt different. It wasn't just another business trip. It was a chance to step outside her comfort zone, to explore new possibilities, and to take time for herself. Looking around the cabin, she took in the usual sights: people settling in, flight attendants preparing for the service, and the quiet murmur of excited voices. But it was the man seated next to her that caught her attention. He was younger than her, tall and well-dressed in a business suit, with dark eyes that seemed to reflect both confidence and a quiet depth. He looked like someone who had seen the world, and yet there was a certain calmness about him, something intriguing. After a moment, he glanced over at Selin, their eyes meeting briefly. She smiled politely and turned her attention back to the book in her lap, but she couldn't shake the feeling that there was something magnetic about this man. Maybe it was his presence or the way he seemed to be lost in thought, but Selin found herself curious. A few minutes passed before he spoke again. "First time to America?" he asked, his voice warm, a hint of a smile tugging at his lips. Selin looked up, slightly taken aback. Most people didn't start conversations with strangers on planes. She hadn't expected to be approached, especially not by someone like him. "Yes," she replied, her voice steady despite her surprise. "I'm here for work, but I'm hoping to take in some sights while I'm at it." "That sounds like a good plan," he said, nodding. "I travel for work a lot. Business trips are always filled with meetings, but it's the moments when you can get away from it all that make the trip worth it." Selin smiled, her curiosity growing. "What do you do for work?" she asked. "I'm in business development," he replied. "Constantly on the move, meeting new people, trying to make deals happen. But I've learned over the years that the most interesting experiences don't come from the boardrooms. They come from the unexpected encounters. Like this one." There was something about his words that resonated with Selin. She had spent most of her life focused on her career, prioritizing work above all else. But lately, she'd begun to wonder if there was more to life than just climbing the corporate ladder. This trip, in a way, felt like a fresh start, a chance to reorient herself, to embrace new experiences. As the flight continued, their conversation shifted to their personal lives. Selin was surprised by how easy it was to talk to him. She had always been a private person, preferring to keep her thoughts to herself, but with David, there was something disarming about his openness. They spoke about their childhoods, their families, their journeys through life. Selin found herself laughing more than she had in years, enjoying the simple pleasure of connecting with another person in such an authentic way. At one point, they both decided to stretch their legs and get some fresh air. The cabin had become stuffy, and the thought of walking down the aisle for a few minutes seemed like a welcome break. They made their way toward the back of the plane, where the bathrooms were located. Selin could feel the slight jolt of excitement in her chest as they walked side by side. It wasn't just the physical movement that felt freeing. It was the way their conversation had shifted, how they had grown more comfortable in each other's company. When they reached the small corridor near the bathrooms, they paused. It was a quiet, almost intimate space, the hum of the airplane and the distant noise of other passengers creating a peaceful background. For a moment, neither of them spoke. There was an unspoken understanding between them, a sense of mutual curiosity and connection that neither could fully explain. David turned to Selin, his expression softening. "You know," he said, his voice lower now, "it's funny. We're on this plane surrounded by hundreds of people, and yet it feels like it's just the two of us here. It's like we've created our own little world, just for this moment." Selin's heart skipped a beat. There was something about the way he spoke, so genuinely, so thoughtfully, that made her feel as if this moment truly mattered. "It's strange, isn't it?" she replied. "How sometimes the most meaningful connections happen in the most unlikely places. You never know who you'll meet, or what they'll teach you about yourself." David nodded, his eyes meeting hers with an intensity that made Selin feel exposed, but in a way that was comforting rather than alarming. It was as though they both understood that this moment, however brief, was something special. The brief encounter near the airplane bathrooms became a turning point for both of them. As the plane began its descent toward their destination, they returned to their seats, but the connection between them lingered. There was an unspoken recognition that, for all their differences in age, background, and life experience, they had shared something real. Something fleeting yet profound. As the plane touched down in America, Selin felt a strange mix of emotions. She was excited for the journey ahead, but she also knew that this encounter, this brief moment of connection, would stay with her long after the flight was over. It wasn't just about the business meetings that awaited her. It was about the people she met along the way, the unexpected moments that shaped her journey. David's presence, though brief, had left a lasting impression on Selin. He had reminded her of something she had long forgotten: the importance of embracing the unexpected, of allowing life to unfold naturally, without overthinking every step. As she gathered her belongings and made her way to the exit, she couldn't help but smile. Life, it seemed, was full of surprises, and sometimes those surprises came when you least expected them.